That's a good one, Ken.
Another class on the 28th?
Yeah.
Yes.
We do,
Yeah.
and it is.
Yeah.
Jen, tell us about your class on the 28th.
At noon.
Noon, social media. Jen, just give us like a little bit of a. I mean, she's kind of a big deal in the social media world, guys. How many followers do you have on Instagram? Well,
More than me.
dude.
More than me.
100%. I'm like, Shayla.
Well, I think it's like 996 and 994,000. For a million, so go back and forth.
She goes back and forth between 975,000 and 1 million followers.
Normal, but.
Yeah.
That means just.
On the gram. She said that's no. The fluctuation is normal. She's like, I mean, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
Some of you guys have like 50 followers. Good job. So if you want to figure out how to get more followers, why would it be important to have more followers?
More reach.
More reach, right? The bigger reach you have, the more followers you have. You never know who those people are going to know, that they're going to reach out to you. So come learn to expand your reach on social media with Jen, who's willing to share what she does. Noon on Friday. Thursday.
Thursday.
Noon on Thursday. We're gonna send that out. Noon on Thursday. And then we have our Easter egg hunt on Saturday. Who's participating in Easter egg hunt? Make sure you show up early. 9 a.m. is when we want people there. Alex, do you need anything? Do you have anything you need to say about this?
Yeah, get there at 9 o'clock to help throw eggs out. Bring your 2 raffle prizes with you. I don't need to have them here. If you have eggs stuffed, feel free to just bring them there, or you can bring them here if you don't want them in your house. We have a place to put them. And I think that's it. Oh, I just have a few stragglers who have not given me their head counts. So if you're here, please give me your head counts today.
You need help people loading stuff up from here in advance?
Okay, we got that. And then on the 31st, we're just saying happy Easter. We hope you guys have a great day with the people that you love, doing the things that you love to do. On the 2nd, we have a CE class, which is DISC, working with multiple personalities. Eden's going to be teaching that. So if you need CE and if you want to learn how working with different personalities can help your business, this is something we've been diving into a little bit, even just within our leadership team. And it's fun to learn a little bit about each personality and how you can connect differently with people based on being able to assess where they're at on that DISC scale. Okay. And then on the 8th, bold starts. You guys have been hearing a ton about bold. I know you probably feel like we're shoving bold down your throat. Guys, we're doing it because it is going to help your business. So no matter what, plan to come to day 1, see what you think. It's a very small investment in your business for the return that you're going to get. And it's going to push you outside of your comfort zone, which is what it's designed actually to do. So make sure that you've got that on your calendar. And then it looks like we're doing a Paint the Town Red event again. Paint the Town Red is when we have multiple open houses all across Weber and Davis County. And there'll be activities the week of to prep for that. And then Red Day is May 9th. So mark your calendar. Does everybody know what Red Day is? Everybody maybe knows, but I'll give a quick recap. Mo Anderson on her birthday in May, her birthday's in May. And when people would ask her what she wanted, she would always tell them, oh, just, I don't want any gifts. I want you to go do something nice for somebody in your world. And so it became part of the culture of KW. So now on Red Day, every year, every single Keller Williams Market Center across the globe closes down their offices and they go and give back in some way to their communities that day. So it is a piece of who we are. Put in your calendar like it's an appointment. I think sometimes people miss the, that's part of the Keller Williams experience, right? It's about having great business, big lives, big legacies, and giving back to the people that we serve. So
And really mark out the whole day. It really is such a rewarding event. And when you leave, when you feel like you have to leave early or you got that stress of knowing you have a listing appointment or something, doesn't make that giving back as enjoyable. I'm only telling you from experience.
hey, love it.
Wait, there's one more thing missing on there. On April the 1st, my coach is doing a class and it's called Goal Setting to the Now. And he, like, I can't say enough good about him. Obviously, he's coached me over the last 1.5 years and my business has grown. So it will be Zoom.
And that's
We
only by a
will
tiny
do-
bit.
Not only by a tiny bit, but I've tripled my business in the last year. So he will be here, March 1st via Zoom. We'll meet here. It's 2 hours. What?
April 1st.
March, yeah, April 1st. That was part of my April Fool's joke. Yes, on the 1st of the coming month, he will be Zoom. But do come, he has so many good things to say. And a lot of what he'll be teaching is what I've been practicing for a year and a
I love it. What time is that one now?
half. From 10 until noon. And there is registration. I think you can get to it on Facebook, or I'm sure Nicole probably has a link or something, but he's a good guy and he has a lot of good things to share. So
Love it.
if you want more, I've got more like details, but
Okay, and this is shared on our Facebook page too. If you're not part of our private group on Facebook, go in and make sure that you're following it. And as with anything within Facebook, if you interact a little bit, it will pop our stuff up more. So I know that's in there. So just make sure that you watch those things. Sean, did you have golf is in there?
ooh,
Sean, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and maybe you did say it and I was mentioned, but 75 Drive, they're doing a bonus class, but it's gonna be on Friday
At
at noon instead of Thursday.
Mhm.
And I don't remember the topic. Ken, do you remember what they said? It's like a bonus class, so, yeah, but we don't have it up there on the screen, but that is noon here on Friday. And it's just via, Zoom.
Okay, we'll send that out. I'm just making a note. I'm not texting. I'm just saying the things I need to send so I don't forget. Okay, so make sure that you sign up for those things. A lot of great things coming up. Here's the other thing I'm gonna tell you is if you're taking the time to come to any of these things, if you're planning to come to on April 1st, the goal setting to the now, and it's 2 hours, block out 2 hours and be present. Because you can come to every single class ever, and if you're not present, and if you don't then take away some action from what you learned. So if you come and hear Jen talk about how she built her social media, or you hear Lucas is your coach's name, right?
Lucas.
If you hear Lucas talk about goal setting to the now, or you come and just watch Nicole do a 36 touch workshop, but you don't take any action, then you are going to be the smartest broke person in the room. And I know you guys have heard me say this a bunch, but be engaged, plan the time, and don't say, oh, I can only come for 20 minutes. If it's 2 hour workshop and it's important to you, show up for 2 hours and be present for the 2 hours. I promise nothing, the world will not end in 2 hours of being present. Ken.
So the topics are how to articulate your value, building a menu of services to present, and how to present buyer agency.
Love it. Okay. Do we have value square slide in here, or should I?
That's on the 10th, and it just got approved for 4 hours of core CE.
Okay, so April 10th, we're doing, is it approved for the one that's on the 10th or just, okay. So on the 10th, if you guys listened to the webinar yesterday, they talked about value squared. There is such good feedback coming from this class. It's a 4 hour class. It did get approved for CE, and I think it was core. It got approved for core CE. So if you guys need core, if you don't know this, half of your hours every renewal cycle must come from core CE. It's 4 hours of core CE. You have to be present at least 85% of the time. So there will be somebody monitoring that you're present and in the room, and it's on April 10th.
What time?
We'll send it out.
Noon Central Time.
Noon Central, so that's 11 here. So it'll be 11 to. Okay. $75 Thrive winners, the moment you've all been waiting for. And John, you guys coming up? You have a list of what they win?
Yes, I actually have a list right here in my hand. Oh, it's also on the slide.
Oh.
So,
Do you want me to
First-
skip to the next slide, or is that gonna give away the winner?
no, let's
What? Okay, then don't.
let's do this part first then. First place, enrollment to bold. So exciting. Enrollment to bold, a listing photo package, 1 free 45-day staging, free appraisal, 1 coaching session with Maps coach and a headshot. That's well over a $2,500 value. Okay. Second place, Second place is listing photo package, customized 36 touch, half off a 45-day staging, one coaching session with Maps coach, and a headshot. That's over a $1,500 value. Third place is listing photo package, staging consultation, one coaching session with Maps coach and a headshot, $600 value. Fourth place, one coaching session with a Maps coach and a headshot. Fifth place is a full car detail and a headshot. Now, 75 Thrive, to be part of this, we had to pay into the program to get it. So what I don't know if concern is the right word, but that's the word I'm going to use. We're concerned that we got enough value out of not just this paying into the program, but all these prizes that the different parties are donating. Because that's a lot of money in prizes. Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
So let's congratulate our winners. So should we go to the next slide? Do I have to hit something?
There's a little clicker, you just click the button. Other one,
So I just push them out. This one?
yep. Forward button.
There we
Dun,
go.
dun,
First
dun.
one. Yep, yeah. It is. It's being accountable to reporting your numbers, right? Because a lot of you did a lot of the stuff, but didn't report your numbers consistently. So nice job. Nice job.
Take a picture.
Second place.
Well, we should take them with this first place
No.
thing in your.
First place.
What else if it doesn't click? What happens if this doesn't click? It's me and technology love each other. Second place is Rhonda. Third place. Whitney Tucker. Chris. You don't want your jacket on in the picture?
I came from pickleball. Just take a picture of the top half.
Right.
Cheese. I don't know. if
Oh,
that's-
turn around, I'm still looking at it.
There we go.
Never.
You've won stuff.
No.
You're.
I've never won anything.
Winner?
Chicken dinner. Okay, so I want the three of you to give us one aha quickly on what you got out of by participating in this program, in this.
Wanna look at your
Contest.
sheet while we do that too? Cause this side has all the pictures. Right.
Help you remind you.
Put us on. Ooh,
Did you hear when I said quick?
quick. Yeah. You gotta give us a second here, we got put on the spot.
Well, I didn't know who the winners were. So she said, can I, because we talked about it yesterday, I was like, nope, we want to be surprised. So we didn't know who the winners were. We knew who was engaging, but we didn't know who was gonna be in what place. So nice job, guys.
I think my biggest aha was the fact that after every class, I left motivated and either went that next week, I ended up with either a listing appointment or a buying appointment. I didn't plan them all, but I mean, it was definitely more motivating to be here. Got more from it from being here than it would be on Zoom, but yeah, that's what I had.
Okay, awesome.
I mean, some of them were good and some of them were just kind of like, yeah, but I mean, the ones that were good were great. So, even
Good content.
Okay, I just figured all of us could jog our memories.
I appreciate that.
But the, yeah, I don't, that's why I'm holding it out here.
Anyway.
Now,
You just had birthday.
yeah.
Happy birthday.
Yeah,
Happy birthday.
So lots of them, like, people are just totally knocking it out of the park, like Jen Davis, she was, like, I don't know if it was like 9 clothings a week or whatever we figured out that she was doing. I mean, and the cool thing about it is she's not even showing any of those buyers. She has other people to go show them, and then she just goes ahead and collects all the checks and pays them a little pittance, but, no, I mean, the way, at the beginning, you said, who here is already living the life they want to live? Like, well, if other people were doing all the work and I was, having a lot of fun, that would, you know, I'm still willing to work, but
According to the MREA, what is that called? No, what's the name of it?
7th level,
7th level.
yeah.
Hmm.
And that's,
Right. I point to you because you're living it, right? I wish.
that's pretty awesome when you get to that point where things are just working for you. And, some of the other ones, you know, obviously, who wouldn't want to go ahead and do a bunch of luxury business too? And we have people in our office that are killing it there too, but also Ken Kozak was really good. And I'm looking forward to your class this week too. Cause, I'd probably more like, Rusty said, maybe if I'm lucky, maybe I have 50 people.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, guys. Yeah, that's it.
And I only have 50 because I have a big family.
So how many found value in Drive 75? Okay, I mean, it costs us money. It is an ongoing series that we can participate in quarterly, I think, isn't it? Quarterly if we choose to. So if you didn't like it, and you'd like to see more of it, let us know so that we can sign up for that again when it's an appropriate time, but.
So one of the things that we do, and I don't know if it's still in this realm, when we did Bold in the past, we used to have to sign a commitment that we wouldn't have competing classes. Like, against the Bold, so we'll consider bringing 75 Thrive back later, but not immediately. So just heads up for that, stay tuned.
Yeah, Bold's gonna be the focus for this next quarter, obviously, because it's a huge investment for both the brokerage and for you. So, be it good or not, Sean and I are in charge of quarterly contests and quarterly training. And so we're putting our minds together right now, trying to figure out what we can do next quarter. So if you have any suggestions on that, we'd love to hear it. I think golf should be in there, a few things like that, so.
Yeah, Gavin, and enjoy our, what do they say, the fruits of our
Fruits of our labor.
Fruits of our labor, however they say that. Yeah, okay,
Awesome, thank
on to
you.
the next thing.
To hear from the 75 Thrive winners, what is one thing that you are going to implement that you wouldn't have done before, or that you heard different or learned from 75 Thrive, one of the classes that you actually took action on?
I actually took action on the listing presentation. I updated my stuff a lot, is what it needed and stuff, so that's what I implemented. Matter of fact, I was implementing as we were sitting here doing it, so
Nice,
that's what helped me out.
love that.
I just like the accountability. Like having our group was texting each other, and we're just texting each
We
other.
had an amazing leader.
Accountability buddy.
We were hounding each other, like, hey, you gotta report your numbers, like, who hasn't reported numbers, like, let's get our numbers in. Like, not everybody reported numbers, but we still were like texting every Friday, every Thursday, trying to get numbers in.
So no specific action from one of the trainings, just more from the group itself and the accountability.
Working together and supporting each other. Even though, like, even the newer people that weren't getting the listings and stuff, like, we're still supporting them, like, go to the classes, like, get, your contacts in your database. Like, you can still do this and get the numbers in.
I'd like to get more purposeful with social media again. I think I got burned out for a while and kind of felt like it was a chore to be on social media, but those that do it, obviously, those that do it well, pays off quite a bit for them. And watching and looking at some of the other people that do it at a high level, and then comparing it to like when I've made YouTube videos about listings and whatever, you can see that one looks like a kindergartner, and one looks like a very advanced class.
Yeah. Okay.
Shout out to our coaches too. We need to acknowledge our coaches and all the help they gave us with holding people accountable and helping us keep people engaged. So shout out to them.
Yeah, I just think if there's one thing that it's it's just been on my mind and resonates so much lately, is a lot of the conversations that as leadership we're having on a regular basis. It's either that there's not engagement with things that we have that are trainings, or it's there, but there's no action taken right after. So I challenge you that every room you walk into, if you're walking in, if you're taking time and you're saying, this is important enough for me to be sitting in a room today, taking an hour to come and listen to Chris for today, for example, I challenge you to, like, how can you identify from that what action that you can take? Because this is a market that requires action. And if we come to a class and we go, that was great, that was good for learning's sake or whatever, but we don't take action from it, it's going to be harder to see the results show up. So I would just really encourage you, as you walk into every room, walk in with, how can I be present and what can I take away from this? Because if you can take things away, that's going to be that's going to be the thing that moves the needle, right? Whether that's having someone that you're accountable to, that, like, hey, every time I walk out of a class, I'm going to text you my action item and I want you to follow up with me, right? Whatever that looks like for you, just find some ways to take action, or and find, to me, I'm like, if I already committed to do it, and maybe you've heard some of the stuff before, I'm going to look at it, how can I look at it through a different lens? Or no matter what, I'm committed to taking some type of value out of this class, because you don't have to love the entire hour of it to find something in value. So anyway, that is my advice. Oh. Why does sometimes? Okay, so we're gonna actually do January and February awards, because in February, when we would normally be celebrating January, was family reunion. So we're gonna go through, I'm gonna talk quack. I'm gonna talk quack. Because it's Easter, so why wouldn't I just talk like a duck? And this is gonna just really bother me. Okay, so in January, Jenny tapped, whoop. Claudia tapped. And then in February, Amanda capped, Jonah capped, Julie capped, Sherry capped, Colt, Jared, Anna, Jamie, and Lincoln. So if you're online and you capped, we have a little gift for you. Our first closings with KW in January, we had Aubrey, Brian, Armelinda, Peter, and then Katie had her first closing in February. I gave it all to Blaine earlier. I'm still trying to get out of the vortex that was his brain. Top listings taken in January, Diane was our top listing agent. Also in February, she was our top listing agent, as well as Kevin, Mark, and Marsha. That was the team. Top listings taken for a team. We had Key Utah Realtors, Larson Realty Group, and Bear Phelps. Top listings taken for groups in January, we had the Burdeners, Brett and Julie, and then in February it was also Brett and Julie and Livian. Top closed units, individuals, January, Marsha, Diane, Sherry, and Claudia all had top closed units months. And in February, Kevin, Sherry, and Marsha were the top individuals for closed units. Top units from a team, we had Bagby's, Bear Phelps, and Larson Real Estate Group. And in February, it was also Bagby and Anita and Mish Real Estate Team for top closed units. Nice job. In March, we had, oh my gosh, nope, top closed units for a group, not in March, but in January and February, we had Cash Home Realty Team, the Hernandez, Connection, Brett and Julie, and in February, we had Cash Home Realty and Brett and Julie as our top closed units for groups. Look at all these people that had $1 million months in January and February. Marsha, Claudia, Sherry, Jackie, Diane, Kevin, Marsha, Sherry, Oscar, Diane, Mark Smith, Russie, and Tanito. Top $1 million months for a team was Bagby, Bear in January, and Anita and Mish, Bagby, Amarillo, and Cody and Alicia in February. For the groups, we had Cash Home Realty, Christina Eck, Brett and Julie, Connection Homes, Burdeners, And in February, Brett and Julie and Cash Home Rooms. And that is all that I have today. We'll send out a few of those other announcements that we talked about, and then we are gonna give Chris Brower some time to share with us. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
A big warm welcome while he comes up, guys.
We're on the same shirt.
It's the only shirt I own.
Makes it easy.
Makes it easy, makes it super easy. Randomly, I see like a ton of water bottles, right? So those of you that have water bottles, have you like always drank a lot of water, or is it like something new you're trying to do? So I see.
Well,
Diet Coke and Diet Coke. Water. Always drink a lot of water.
Always drink a lot of water, but I did make it like conscious effort at the beginning of the year to make sure I fill this up 4 times every day.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I recently tried to make an effort to drink a lot of water, still doing it. But didn't drink any water before. So if I've got to pause for a minute, it's because I got to pee. I can pee like every 20 minutes, I feel like. So,
You're like time out.
yeah, hold on a sec. But yeah, and then today, so for those of you that looked at the calendar, we're going to be talking about the circle of trust. And we will get into that. This is a shout out as well, though, to the Value Squared class. That's happening the 10th, right? The 10th. A lot of this information is included in that class. So this will just be like a snippet of that. And then if you want to hear more, learn more about it, I highly, highly recommend you go to that, especially with everything that's going on right now with the lawsuit and everything. It is well worth your time to put in Value Squared class. So speaking about that, then jumping in here. So I'm curious, Jessica, you mentioned you tripled your business, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you were given an AI bot, super smart robot, iRobot, Will Smith type robot, right? Super smart one. And you just had to tell the programmer how to program it to go sell a lot of real estate. Do you think you could do it?
To be effective or to just do the job?
Just do the job.
I could tell it what to do the job. I don't know that it would be effective.
Okay, I like that. But it would know what to do, right? You could tell it what to do, may not be effective. Okay, perfect.
But
So,
be nice, right?
yeah.
People.
So the point that I'm trying to make here is a lot of times we come to these classes and we may not feel like we're hearing anything groundbreaking or new, right? But most of us don't really need to learn something new. We know the job. We know what we're doing. We know what we should be doing every day. So these are just good reminders, right? It reminds us of what we should be doing. And then like Rusty was saying, the key is then taking something and implementing it and actually changing to get better and improve. So talking about value though. So definition of value that I like here, and speaking about how it relates to business. Value is at the heart of all businesses because all businesses are an exchange of value. You determine the value that you provide, and your clients determine how valuable it is to them. The goal of this material that we're going to go over today is to help you understand how important value is and then how you can build your business around it. But I do want to read that sentence again because that really stuck out to me. You determine the value you provide, and then your clients determine how valuable it is to them. I've heard Marcus say on numerous occasions that the only time that cost is an issue is when there's an absence of value. So if you're going on listing appointments or buyer consultations and you have people questioning your commission, they're not seeing the value that you're providing. So again, plug for Value Squared, go to the class if you're struggling with that, right? And yeah, I want this to be much, not so much me giving a speech or a talk here, but more of a workshop so we can try and say, okay, breaking down our business, what I'm doing right now, what you're doing right now, how can we take this conversation to the next level? Okay, so when it comes to the law of value, one of the great truths of life is that people are always willing to pay for value.
The law of value says that the value you give determines the value you get. The challenge for all businesses is they must explain and demonstrate the value they will give so well that people agree to their price before they experience it. So, and this says in real estate's no exception. So I would compare it, as much as I hate to compare myself to them, I mean, really, we're kind of like attorneys, right? Like, we have to try and negotiate our payment, our fees up front, right? When do you know that you've hired a bad attorney? When you've lost. Right? That's when you know.
Yeah.
So very similar to us though, right? Most people, if you're a bad agent, they don't know you're a bad agent until your sign goes up in the yard and then they're like, oh shoot, they're not doing anything for me. Right? So we've got to become really, really well versed in how we articulate our value and then follow through on that, which is even more important. Because the agreement to pay comes ahead of the delivery of any service or outcome, real estate agents must master the art of presenting their value. Buyers and sellers then measure that value by weighing the compensation amount they agree to pay against the service and outcome they expect to receive. So there's three ways ultimately that it breaks down to when we deliver our value and how we present that. Number one, and this is going to be our main focus today, number one is establishing trust. Number two is provide fiduciary representation. And then three is deliver core services with a positive and memorable client experience that includes surprise and delight. So I'll go over those three again. Number one, establish trust. Two, provide fiduciary representation. And then three, deliver core services with a positive and memorable client experience that includes surprise and delight. So thinking about those three things, how we're going to present and deliver on our value. This is where we're going to open it up a lot. I'd like to know, like, if you think about your client experience with the buyers and sellers and investors that you represent, what is your client experience? This was kind of talked about a little bit at family reunion. So the question was posed to somebody, like, they pulled an agent up from the audience, right? And was just like, why should I work with you? So if a client came up to you and asked, in other words, you know, what is my client experience by working with you? What would you say? Justin, you were a volunteer.
I think we all learned from that guy at family reunion not to have a scripted answer when Tony Robbins says you're wrong. That sucks. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my value is I really care about the client, and that their problems are my problems, and I'm here to create solutions. Got a ton of experience to help create those. I don't have the solid definition. Something to that, to like actually care.
No, I think that's perfect. And I do think that this is like the answer to this question. There's no right or wrong answer. The answer to this question is, yeah, who are you? Right? Like it's you, it's your personality, it's how you do business. People do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And so not everybody is going to know you. In my circumstance, very few people like me, right? But hopefully they trust me, the ones that do like me. So yeah, I think that answer definitely can be different, but I would reflect on that, each of you. Like, if somebody asks you, like, what it's like to do business with you, what's gonna be your answer? Every consumer, I feel like they all have an end goal, right? They either want to buy or sell a house. But there's a dime a dozen agents out there, right? And even companies, tech companies, that can get you to the point B. But what is the process like from A to B, right? Tons of agents can get you to the closing table. How do you feel though when you're at the closing table? Do you feel good about how it all went? Or are you pissed? Can you not believe that you have to sign and buy this house, right? So a couple things I wanted to buy up here. Sean, I must be like you on the tech stuff, because I was like, oh, like I'll figure out a way to do like PowerPoints on this, and no, didn't happen. So talking about the circle of trust and how we can want to draw this down. I think I'll get that actually. I'll try not to say it. Yeah. So I do think that that is the first thing, right, is establishing trust. Okay, and I think the easiest way, and we'll dive into this a little bit more, but the notes that I took here for establishing and building trust is that you've got to demonstrate knowledge. And then in addition to that, you've got to show your skills and experience. Now I'm talking about like the clients, like the path that they're gonna take. We're gonna jump back and forth through here a little bit as well. So I mentioned these things, right? Provide the core services. Basic things, right? Like putting stuff on the MLS, sending them houses, simple things. And then after that, we talked about delivering a client experience. Last thing was surprise and delight.
Does that mean you show up to your listing appointment to make fun costume?
Yes. So, yeah,
That would be surprised and terrifying. That would be.
and I think too, like, I think sometimes I feel like, and I have a misconception that with surprise and delight, that like, when I'm meeting with a client, I've got to be this like crazy, outspoken, high energy person, right? But that's not always the case. Like for some people, if that's you, then yeah, do that. But you want to be sincere with who you are, right? And then this also moves down into being a fiduciary. Hopefully I'm spelling everything right. I keep trying to double check myself here. And ultimately what that means, right, is having their best interest. Client. Okay, so talking about these things, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, well, I think it's pretty simple to think about these things, but for me, I like to boil it down even more to be like, all right, how can I start analyzing my business to be like, what am I doing in these areas? And so the questions that I found myself asking under providing core services, this is simply what we do, right? And then when it comes to delivering the client experience, this is how we do it. And then on the surprise and delight, those are the extras, right, that we provide. So what extras? So I'd love to hear of these areas, but what we do, how we do it, where do you guys feel that your businesses are lacking?
How to communicate that, I think is really important. I'm getting better at it, but like when you're sitting with them one-on-one, you're not just talking at them. Some people learn by seeing. And so when you're meeting, I know a lot of people with buyers, they don't say or do anything. They're like, well, we're pals.
Yes.
We're gonna do business together, but that you really need to dive in and engage all their senses or whatever you can, right? So communicating that verbally and seeing it and making sure that you are listening and asking more questions than you are talking at them.
I think that's a key point, asking more questions than talking at them. Some people, like you mentioned, are visual learners. So you may need some of those PowerPoints, right, to show them.
Just that.
Yeah, discuss. I think too, like I said, a lot of this stuff is also going to be covered in the value squared class. Super grateful to be in a place that, I mean, this, especially when it comes to buyers with everything that's happening, well, I myself am like, I'm gonna have to take a deep look at this. Because right now, most of the time, you know, I try and be better about doing like a buyer consult these days. But, you know, a year ago, somebody called me and said they wanted to see a house. Great, let's go start looking at houses. Right? I wasn't going over any of this with them. I was like, yeah, I can open the door for you. Piece of cake. Okay. So I think we're gonna have to take a hard look at each of our businesses. And again, I don't have all the answers. Like I wish that I had everything lined up and was specific on each and every one of these things. I feel like in my mind, I know pretty well what we do. I find the hard thing to articulate is how we do it and how we do it different than everybody else. And why that's important to them. Any thoughts on that? Does anybody have that answer? Because I don't.
So, one of the things that was talked about recently on our office Facebook page was about Matt Green's open house class.
Oh, by the way, I talked to him last night. He's gonna come teach it. I just gotta get some dates.
So one of the things that he teaches in that class is he talks about what's important to buyers and what people are looking for in their agent. And one of the top things they're looking for in their agent is negotiations. So one thing he talks about is, one of the best things you can do if you're gonna go ahead and get any type of certification or designation, getting the one that has to do with negotiation power. So you can communicate and give examples of how you're a good negotiator. And, you know, people can see the value in that and having you work for them and how you've done it and stuff like that.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah.
For me, I think the key is setting expectations. With the client, if it's a buyer, you have a buyer timeline for them that says, okay, we're gonna go out and look at houses. Once we go under contract on a house, here is the timeline as to how we're gonna progress the closing. And I think the biggest thing for especially a first-time home buyer, but even somebody who's maybe only done it once or twice, is understanding the process and understanding the timing. So I've worked really hard to try to have both in print and communicate to my buyers and my sellers as to what to expect and when to expect it. And I tell them, my goal is I never want you to call me for an update. If you call me for an update, I fail. I'm gonna call you, like, for showings. And I honestly do this. Every time there's a showing, I call the agent, text the agent, try to get feedback. If I do get feedback, I pass it on to the seller. If I don't get feedback, I tell them I wasn't able to get feedback. So they're not sitting there wondering, hey, I wonder how that showing went. You know, so being proactive with your communication, setting communication expectations. The part I'm probably not good at is the surprise and delight. To me, that means I'm going to surprise them with my service and my communication so that they always know where they stand and they're going to be happy with the outcome and they're going to be delighted with the outcome. I don't give client closing gifts. I never have, because to me that's insignificant. $100 gift card or a gift basket, that means nothing to the people I do business with. They want to know that they've negotiated the best price on the house. They've gotten the most money for the house if they're a seller, and that things have gone smoothly. That's where they find value. So I don't do any of that fluff stuff. Never have, never will. Because to me, that's a smoke screen you're trying to cover for something that's lacking in your service. That's me personally. Sorry if I offended anybody, but,
we're fighting.
but that's my own personal take on that.
I think that's a good example though, too, Ken, of like, what we do is we collect feedback. You know, here's how we do it. Here's how we collect it. Here's how I deliver the information back to you. Right? Yeah. Jessica, did you have a comment?
Well, I do love a lot of it. And I love it because it makes me happy, right? And then my clients know that I'm happy. that's contagious. So again, it's just that everyone does it their own way, but it's not offensive in any way. One of the things that I did learn, and it's kind of connecting a little bit more today than it had during the 75 drive, I forget who it was, but she talked about that there was a garden hose. And that each time you turn it on, there either you have holes and you're losing pressure along the way, or you're finding a way to track that, which we're learning from the contest, right? The
Yep.
people who tracked are the ones who won, right? So taking a moment to really track and understand where is my weak spot and how do I cover that,
Yep.
right? And the only way to do that is through paying attention to how we're serving others, how they're feeling, and what it is that's important to them.
And I think asking for feedback along the way.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think especially if you're looking at reevaluating your processes or reevaluating your strategy session with them or what you want to do along the way, you have to be asking the questions, and sometimes it may not be great to hear the answer. But like, when we were talking the other day about buyers, it was like, when you're having that session, you're talking to them and saying, these people are part of my team. If you ever receive anything less than excellent service, I want to know about it, right? So then it's the follow-up of, hey, you had a claim on your warranty. What did that look like? How was the service? How did things go, right? So like, I think that's being open and willing to evaluate it and recognize there are holes. Because I think sometimes we get so stuck in the, we're gonna do it this way. And we want it to be the way we want it, that we don't evaluate and consistently, we should be constantly, we should have a system, but there should be like, what needs to adapt right now? If what we're doing isn't effective and we're not hitting the goals, what do we need to adapt along the way? And really looking at the holes and saying, how do we fix it? Is it that one infomercial with the guy that could just slap it right on even a broken fish tank and it stops the bleeding, you know? But what is it?
And if I keep falling apart at this stage in every transaction, and I recognize that this is where I'm falling apart, there's a problem with my system.
Yep.
It's not the client, like there's a one-off and that didn't work out because of X, Y, and Z, like I get it. But 3 clients in a row and I can't get past this one hurdle, there's a problem with my system.
A lot of agents don't have a system,
Yeah, well,
right? They're like a.
so it's just like turn on the faucet and let it spray wherever, and if it lands somewhere, that's great.
Yeah.
Right?
Like it's a sprinkler effect.
Like that, right? And still do okay in this business,
Yeah.
but.
But to have a repeatable experience
Yeah.
that you can grow, you have to.
Yeah.
Because if you give one person an experience and you surprise and delight one person and they're like, oh my gosh, that was so great. And they tell someone about you, and then the next time you're falling apart because of whatever. It's what's going on in your world, you don't have a system, you're overwhelmed now because you don't have a system, whatever it is. If that person receives something different than this person who told them about you, it's not something that's repeatable, right? So if they're like, oh, wait, you didn't get moving boxes when you went under contract? I got them delivered to my house. That was such a cool touch, right? And you don't have that with the next people because it's not repeatable. And you were like, well, I was really slow at that time. Now I got all this business because I did a great job. It's not a repeatable experience, and it's not it's not establishing the trust in the fiduciary for the client.
And the busier you get, the harder it is to be consistent.
Yeah.
And that's why it requires a system. You have to be intentional.
And a written down system. right?
Absolutely.
You're like, oh yeah, like.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
And there are times too, though, like I'm on that cusp, right? I just do things because I know that's what happens next, right? But then how do you get it written down? And Jenny, we've talked a lot about it too. You hire somebody,
Well, that
AI, and you've
AI
got
was really powerful.
systems, but, and that was another thing Lucas has helped me with, like, okay, I can't get everything written down and still get the business. So who am I gonna get that leverage to help me with that? What does that look like when I get busy? So I think that's been anyway, that's my ultimate question. I don't have that answer, but those are the questions in my mind. How do I move to the next level?
Well, and it is, the big mistake I found was like, I thought I had all the systems, they weren't written down. Then I go hire leverage, and leverage is like, well, how do you do it? And I'm like, you just do it.
It's like programming the
Yeah,
AI, right?
yeah,
You
yeah.
can tell it what to do, and still that doesn't mean it's effective.
Yeah.
Well, you just go get the listing. Okay, but how?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you just show up. Okay, and then what, right? Like, yeah.
Well, it's just like a computer program. You gotta write the program first.
Yeah.
You gotta input the information in first, and then you get the outcome, and the federal saying of garbage in, garbage out. You gotta have a good system put in place, otherwise the results.
Okay, so. Plenty of stuff needs to be covered when you're doing business, when you're actually having transactions, right, within the fiduciary. And what you do, how we do, what actions, right? We all know though too, right, at Keller Williams, it's hearts and hearts on over and over again that our database is our business, right? And so a vast majority of our database, they don't live here. Right, they don't live in the transaction. Most of them are doing transactions every single year, right? So we need to focus, in my opinion, most of our time on establishing trust. I don't think establishing trust is just a transaction thing. Right? That's gotta be happening all the time with everybody in our database. So that's what I'm hoping to really focus on here today. So I'm gonna erase this. Any last second pictures, we're good. Like I said, if you want to see a lot of this, go to Value Squared.
Which is CE certified now,
Which is CE certified.
on the
1
10th
more
or
hours.
25th.
I'm glad I waited till the third.
Right? Well, it's already past it, like the 25th of March, April.
And what time is that? 11, on the here.
11 to 3.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see how good of a circle I can draw.
I've been impressed with your
That's not too
handwriting
bad.
so far, just so you know.
And your
I
spell.
agree.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Your handwriting is,
I've
Better-
been valuing it.
Right.
It's good.
it's better than what.
Lots of good news.
You're still here.
Everybody has that one.
While you're there writing that down, Chris, can I just tell you what Webster defines trust as?
Yes.
So Webster Dictionary defines trust as a firm belief in someone's reliability, truth, ability, and strength.
Will you read it again?
Yeah.
Yeah, Webster defines trust as a firm belief in one's reliability, truth, ability, and strength to overcome obstacles.
I like that. And I think there's a lot of different ways, right, to define trust. I think it's really interesting how KWRI has decided to build out this circle of trust with the items that they say are within it. And I think a lot falls within each of these items, but as you can see here, they got empathy, competency, transparency, and dependability is what makes up the circle of trust. So when it comes to empathy, they boil that down to understanding and caring. When I was looking at this one of my favorite things that I say over and over, and especially my kids, I preach it to my kids all the time. Seek first to understand and then to be understood. I can't remember if that's in How to Win Friends and Influence People or like 7 Habits. Is it 7 Habits? Okay. So yeah, seek first to understand, then to be understood. So when it comes to empathy, how can, when talking about a real estate transaction or when talking about communicating with somebody within our database, how can we show empathy?
That's about them. It needs to be sincere.
Yeah, and you mentioned that earlier, Jenny, that it all comes down to questions, right? One of my favorite go-to books right now, I say it all the time, so I sound like a broken record, but it's that exactly what to say for real estate agents. I read from that every morning, because all it is questions that I can ask people, right? And so one tip that I would give each of you, start a Word document or a Google document, and each heading for me, I have like database /SOI, I've got physical, I've got expired, I got online lead, I've got house, I've got buyer, I've got all these different pages. And then each page, I just started listing questions that I could ask these people. Open-ended questions, questions that are gonna get them to actually start talking to me. And not the simple, well, how many bedrooms do you want? Right? Like, that's not gonna show empathy. Oh, you want 3 bedrooms? Okay. How many bathrooms? Oh, 2 bedrooms. Okay. How big of a yard? Oh, quarter acre. Okay.
What does that sound like for you?
So a lot of why.
No, because I didn't have a question.
Yeah, so a lot of why. So usually, like, if I do a buyer consult, rather than asking them like how many bedrooms and bathrooms, I'm more starting out with like, tell me about you and your family. Who lives in the house with you? Oh, that's so awesome. What do they like to do? Oh, how do they get along with each other? Oh, you've got 3 kids and they all fight? Sounds to me like you may want 4 bedrooms then. Is that right? Am I safe to assume that? All right. So it's not so much a direct ask, right? Oh, man, you've got 3 girls. Do they each need their own bathroom? Right? Ask some
The
questions.
answer is yes.
Do you want that for them?
Yeah, right. So, and then, so yeah, the why questions. And I think if you're continually asking, I have this experience. Because I was, getting started, trying to learn how to ask the open-ended questions. So a lot of it was like, oh, how many bedrooms do you want? We want 3 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. Okay, you want 3 bedrooms, why? Then people feel like they're getting interrogated, right?
Mhm.
Oh, you want 2 bathrooms, why? Why? And I had somebody that was like, well, why do you want to know all this? Why does it matter why? We're telling you what we want, just go find it. But if you can ask more open-ended questions and come across as more caring, then they're like, oh yeah, Chris actually cares. This isn't an interrogation. He actually truly wants to know. He's sincere. So,
I think in that conversation too, the actually saying, oh, yeah, I get it. I understand. That's empathy too, right?
yeah.
I understand why you feel that way. Oh, yeah, I get it. I felt the same way when we were doing this, or I know people who have felt the same way, right? Like connecting to them in that way, I think is important as well. And asking the questions.
Yeah, I think that's a prime example too, Rusty. Like if you can share stories or storytelling, the art of storytelling.
Yeah.
Share that with people and relate to them helps a ton.
For sure, and that shows your competency as well.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
oh gosh, I totally get it. I've had other clients that felt the same way. What we were able to find for them was, the 3-bedroom, each one of them had their own bathroom. They were able to do whatever it is, right? So I think that they kind of play into each other a little bit as well, through the storytelling.
I think Mark is, one of the things I remember he teaches is feel felt found, but you're also repeating back to them. In a sense, what they said, so they know that you're hearing them. I use that.
Yeah. So what I heard you say is,
This is kind of interesting.
these experiences, they.
Empathy is actually a verb. It's an action.
Oh.
The empathy is defined as how much compassion and understanding can you give someone else. It requires action on our part, either physical action or words. So empathy is a verb. Sympathy is not. Sympathy is, oh, gosh, I feel sad for you. Or gosh, I feel sorry for you. There's no action. It's all internal. Whereas empathy is a verb.
There's a good book called Love is a Verb on another note, but, that you actually have to do things.
Yeah.
For people.
Yeah, empathy, we actually have to communicate, compassion and how we feel and caring.
Okay, well, yeah, lots of great thoughts on empathy. Moving on here. Jumping over to competency, knowledge, skills, and experience. A big question that I get asked all the time though, within our team is like, well, what if I don't have the experience? Then what?
I need to be.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
You were so close.
I was so,
Good job.
I was so close.
I would say with experience, if you don't have it directly, you can point out that your team or your brokerage has plenty of experience and you have a team that supports you and they're around you, so. In a sense, you have that experience.
Utilizing the program, we do a lot. I think that's a great opportunity. I also find it funny though, a lot of times when I get asked this question, like, oh, I don't have any experience or all this, and I'm like. I try and have empathy, right? But initially I'm like, that's kind of your fault, because you have all this opportunity to come to all these great classes and learn the skills and the knowledge. And, you know, you may not have transactional experience, but you could have plenty of experience. So much opportunity here to gain those things, even as a brand new agent. So I think it's hilarious though that competency is the word that I misspelled.
Another thing though, it's a skill to be able to say, you know what, that is a really great question. I've never seen that before. I need to learn more about that and I'll get back to you. And so you don't have to have all the knowledge as long as you know where to find the knowledge. But that also, yeah.
Transparency.
So see how it's transitioning for you.
You know, with experience, sometimes I'll ask myself, okay, if I were to hire real estate agent, what would that look, what would I want that to look like for me? And then, you know, just write it down and zero that in. If you have it, you know how to handle it.
So yeah, talking about transparency, being honest, clear, open, and communication. The number one complaint to NAR, right, is communication and not always lack of. Right. So we want to make sure that we're showing these things. And then jumping over to dependability. I think this is where talking about like expectations, right? Setting clear expectations and making sure you meet them.
Yeah, if you're not gonna answer your phone after 5 o'clock, tell them that up front.
Yeah.
I'll get back with you the next business day. I typically don't answer my phone on Sunday. I do monitor my text messages and emails, but I'm not proactively doing business. That's a personal choice that I get, but every one of my clients knows that up front.
And are they okay with that?
Yeah, yeah. If they're not, they don't work with me, but I've never had anybody say, well, because you don't work Sundays, I'm not gonna work with you. You know, but that's just me, but.
Yeah, after 5. But I've never known a realtor that sticks around, it's like, I'm not available after 5.
You're seeing more and more.
Yeah.
Honestly, people are figuring it out, you know, they'll say it on their voicemail, whatever. I personally don't do that, but, you know, my point is, whatever your work day looks like, communicate that to your clients, so they're not wondering why you're not getting back with them. Yeah, and why they're, what's the word that teenagers use? Being,
Ghosted.
ghosted. Why you're not ghosting your clients?
You're not the agent that answers your phone if you try to talk to a client?
So I would, now, you know, having all these things up here now, I would take a minute to think about outside of real estate, who in your life actually shows up this way, right? Doesn't have to be real estate. These are just like being a human being attributes, right? That will help you out. And so I'd reflect on that and then even ask yourself, okay, I know that person shows up that way, but in each of these areas, how do they show up? And how is that so apparent to me? When I think of, oh, who do I trust? At least in my mind, I had like 3 names come right to mind, right? Like 3 people that I'm like, yep, I trust those people. Okay, well, why do I trust them? Yeah, they have all of these attributes. Well, how do they show those attributes to me that it was so easy for me to think of them? And then transitioning from that, I think there's even a few brands in my mind that I trust like this.
Is Boeing not one of them?
Not if you're sitting on an exit row.
So then, yeah, I would look at those brands and analyze, you know, why is it that you trust them? Really interesting statistic. I have no idea where this came from, but it was one of the Livian leadership that said this, so I trust it, but take it for what you will. 1 out of 5 sellers last year recommended their agent 4 times or more.
Do that. I wanna know that.
I know. So 1 out of 5 sellers recommended their agent in the last 12 months, full-time or more.
That's because they're becoming raving fans. Those are,
Yeah.
they trust you. You took great care of them. The experience was smooth. Those are your raving fans and they want to tell people about you.
Isn't it hilarious though that super guilty that we're all chasing the low-hanging fruit though? We're
Mhm.
spending all this money on internet leads and Google.
Most people's
and
made-
Facebook. and- Sorry.
Josh Stern in the Salt Lake office, one thing he does, you know how we're supposed to do our quarterly calls that don't always get made? And anytime he makes his quarterly calls, he, in that quarterly call, besides visiting, he phrases his conversation with them also, not like, hey, who do you know, who you've been referring to? He phrases it in a way that he's teaching them that if they do come across someone that is interested, how they can go ahead and refer them back to him. So he's kind of teaching them how to give him referrals to grow his business.
Do you know what that sounds like?
He talks about like, hey, if you find someone, you know, would you go ahead and pick up the phone and give me a call? Because lots of times, you know, if you just give them my information, they won't call, but I'd be happy to go ahead and give them a call and make you look good. You know, and then I'll get back in touch with you and let you know how it went. So he kind of has a script that he uses to go ahead and teach people how to give him referrals. And he does that every time, you know, it comes out like quarterly, so they get it 4 times a year. So pretty much people are trained as to what to do when they hear anybody else talking about real estate.
So thoughts I have. This is not KW, right? This is me speaking. I agree in making the quarterly calls. And I also think it is really important to ask for referrals, right? We're trying to generate leads into business. I also wonder, I've asked myself this, and I've experienced it, where like I'm making my quarterly calls, 3rd or 4th time comes around and it's somebody that I've never done business with, but they were in my sphere of influence, and I'm now asking them for a 4th time in a row with me talking to them for a referral, and they tell me never call again. I think a big part of that was that like I broke the circle of trust because it was all about business, and I became very transactional in my conversations with them. And so I would just say, yeah, be careful of that too, that like on that last diagram, we're constantly trying to establish trust with the people that are in our database. Establishing trust with them isn't always best done by talking to us.
Absolutely not.
You taught me something about that, because I had that same question for you a long time ago. And it comes back to, again, value, right? Are you providing more value to your clients than you're asking from them? And if you keep that in balance, then yeah, we need to be asking for help. Christy will tell you, your clients won't know how to help you if you don't ask them, right? But there is a delicate balance and a dance that we need to be able to do to provide value and ask for what we need in return.
So for me, my business, the way that looks, I no longer on a phone call or through a text message ask for referrals. However, when the people that I'm talking to and having follow-up conversations with and just building the relationship and trust, when they sign up for a client event, my system asks them for a referral.
I think it comes back to like what you said earlier, when you're doing a buyer consultation. How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, you know, and instead personalizing it and figuring out what works best for you to make them feel like you care. And then they'll just go ahead and share stuff with
Obviously it's a circles never end, right? So this is always ongoing. I'm curious, and again, no right or wrong answer there, but I'm curious, when I look at these 4 things and try and think like, okay, I'm meeting with a buyer or I'm meeting with the seller and it's time for me to try and deliver my value, which do you think shows up first? Or is it like a combination of the two, or your thoughts?
Transparency.
How so?
Transparency to build trust with for me personally,
I need somebody to be completely open with me so that I can communicate well with them and we're on the same mindset.
Also dependability, show up on time,
Mm-hmm.
be prepared. Put your phone away, be 100% present when you're first meeting.
Competency is something that I kind of struggle with. Although, yes, I am aware that I need to refer to the we.
I find it really, really interesting that I do think this is important. It is funny to me how if I'm able to storytell and relate their scenario to another client I've helped with in the past. It's been years since I've had somebody ask me like, how many transactions have you done?
Do you know that I've never had anybody in 17 years ask me that question? I think people get so tied up in it. And I've never in 17 years had somebody say, well, how many closings did you do last year? Or how many buyers did you represent? Or how many listings did you have? I've never had somebody ask me that. I've had someone ask me in roundabout ways about my business, how much, like, am I full-time, whatever, but I've never had somebody say, well, how many transactions did you do in the last 12 months? Never. Not
I
one time.
usually responded, I responded with that one with what the average real estate agent, you know, the average closing. Too, a year, you know, or something
Yeah.
like that. I just say I do well above that, I always have.
Yeah, the only time I ever got asked that I was competing with Schmei and Bybee and got asked how many I did in the last 12 months, so.
And it's because that's the leading value for them, by the way. Because they will lead in with that as their only value.
It's their whole.
Yeah.
So going outside of real estate again, so let's say you break your arm or, you know, tear your ACL, whatever it is, you're injured, you go to a doctor. Doctor has all these things, empathy, competency, transparent, they're dependable, they show up on time, right? What has you actually be like, okay, yeah, doc, let's do the surgery, or have you think, I need a second?
To me, it's the confidence that they walk in the room with. And it goes back to, I've only been asked once how long I've been in business, and it's because I walked in unconfident with who I was, and they were like, something's not quite right here. And I'm like, well, you're my first listing. That's reality. And I was able to lean then on, I like Rusty and Chris, I'm like, but I have a great team behind me, and I've got 2 brokers, and I've got this, and if I can't figure it out, I'll help you. But I learned from an important lesson that I just need to go in and be confident, and I haven't had that.
I think you hit the nail right on the head. That's what I wrote. You've got to be confident that you're gonna be able to help them get from their point A to their point B. And if you can be confident in that while showing all of this, then the game's easy.
In that class, the body language, I have to applying that to start. I think you're about it like the pumps.
That class, anytime I'm talking to people, I'm like, oh my standing, what are they thinking of?
Am I leaning forward? You know, you asked, what would you ask a surgeon? And when I had my shoulder done, I looked him right in the face and said, are you the guy? Or do I need to go talk to somebody else? Cause he had all these things, but I wanted him to say, yeah, I'm the guy. Or no, go see Rusty. And, you know,
He did actually say that, which was weird because I've never even had shoulders. I've never even had it. Or performed it, so it felt very odd. And I said to Justin, he's actually not your guy, neither am I. Got a great story. I know who to ask. Justin. That was rude, I'm sorry.
no, I think it's just, he was totally confident, going to your point that, look, you can go somewhere else, but I know that I can. So.
I think too, there's a fine line between confident and arrogance, right? Like, I got a comment ready.
Can't handle an arrogant person, and if you come at me that way,
So how can you show, right? You go on a listing appointment, you walk in the front door. How do you show your confidence while building trust and not coming across as that you're in control of the situation?
yeah, that's.
It's everything. It's just like a
You
doctor.
gotta have all.
Doctor can be a champ, but if he's an a-hole, and he doesn't have good bedside manner,
There's no point.
nobody's gonna use him, because they want somebody who is understanding, caring, and will listen. You know, if I go to a doctor and I've got a 10-minute appointment, he's like, yeah, okay, whatever, you know, and you're just a number to him, I'm not going back.
Yeah.
We can't make people feel the same way either, we don't want them to like their number, so plan enough time, be prepared.
I also think it's reading your audience though.
Mhm.
Like,
That is true.
I've had guys that they don't wanna know anything, but like the details.
Yeah.
And like okay, what's the price and what do I get in my pocket? Not the 100 things you're gonna do and then. So knowing your audience, and some people like myself, like want you to be like, no, I can do it.
And yeah, I think being able to know the audience comes back to asking the right questions. Like there was a listing appointment I went on here recently that it was very obvious that this client was super timid and shy and uncertain and just like I knew that on the phone call even before I went, you know, kind of pre-qualifying the listing appointment, knowing like, okay, she's very uncertain about where her life's at right now. She feels like everything's really unstable. So I went in knowing that I got to show her that I have control of the situation and confident in what's going to happen. And so as silly as it sounds, I went in thinking, okay, most listing appointments I go on, they ask, right? Oh, thanks for coming over. Oh yeah, thanks for having me. Yada, yada. Do you want to sit down or do you want to see the house first? What do you want to do? Right? Seems like everybody kind of asks that. So I went in with kind of the mindset of like, to show her that I'm confident and again, not arrogant. But she was like, so what do we do first? Do we like sit down or do we? I was just like, no, the first thing we do is I'm going to walk through the house. Like just being like, hey, I got you. Like, don't worry about it. I've got this. I know what I'm doing. We're good.
Yeah, because they don't need to know everything. That's their job.
Yeah. So, and then as soon as I walked through the house, it was simple to just be like, you know, you want to get, now I'm drawing a blank on his name, the guy that wrote Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents. He said that selling is nothing more than asking enough questions to then have permission to make a suggestion, right? So then you can say, well, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, because you told me A, B, and C, you want your kids in this school district, you're sick of this house because it's too small, because, you know, your kids are growing up and they need their own bedroom. I suggest we do this, this, and this. That's going to help you accomplish your goal, right? Okay, I know we're getting short on time here. I'm going to read through this stuff pretty quick because there's some big things I wanted to hit on here. So up front, how you build trust before you get an agreement signed. When it comes to demonstrating empathy, you demonstrate that you understand and care about your client's wants and needs and that you care about them. You prove your competency. You show that you have the knowledge, skills, and experience to help them. You establish transparency by communicating with openness, clarity, and honesty. And then you assure dependability. You offer evidence that you keep your promises and will meet the mutually agreed upon expectations in a timely manner. The dependability thing for me is really, really easy to build throughout, like while a client's living in your database. Like it's so easy to build your dependable person. You know, they know the calls come quarterly, right? If they've been in your database for 3-4 years, they know you call like every 3 months, right? So I just tell them, hey, it was great talking with you. If you need anything between now and March, when I'm going to call again, let me know. And then I call again in March. Hey, calling you again as promised. How's it going? How's life? Family? What happened over the last 3 months? Right? I'm showing that I do what I say.
Right, and take notes on
Yeah.
what their answers are. So they're like, wow, you're amazing. You remember everything.
That's what that's for, right?
That's because I read all your notes before.
Facebook stuff.
I remember that Timmy was in a soccer tournament and how did he do, right? That's a huge piece.
And your cat went into surgery, so how are they doing?
So yeah, over time then, after you have the agreement signed, how you keep trust. You show empathy, you continually demonstrate that you understand your client's wants and needs and you put them above all else. That's something that I know I could do better at. Like, I'm really good at writing down and asking the right questions at first to understand. But after reading this, I was like, I need to do better at throughout the process being like, hey, I remember that this is important to you. I remember that this is why we're doing all this. You know, I know that this is the goal. You know, versus like, I think a lot of times I'm like, okay, I know the goal. I'm putting my head down and making sure that it happens versus also communicating that, hey, I'm still aware of all these things. Deliver competency, you put your knowledge, skills, and experience to work on their behalf. And I think that's a great way too. Like, we actually started sending out every Friday an updated report of our feedback, you know, showing what feedback we got from the listings, and then also showing how many views we got in the MLS. It's so easy to take a screenshot of that, but just by showing them that number, they're like, oh yeah, you're doing your job. Like, the marketing's working.
Let's try.
Yeah, yeah.
Brilliant.
Transparency, communicating consistently with openness, clarity, and honesty. That's a big one that we have a specific day of the week that we call all of our clients and update on. So, and then dependability, keep your word. You said what you would do. Now you do what you said. And then how trust is lost. One, you fail to show empathy and your client will question your sincerity. Two, if you fail to deliver on competency and your client will question your expertise. Three, if you fail to provide transparency, your client will question your ethics. Interesting. Seems like we're dealing with that a lot right now.
Seems like that's almost the guys in a class action lawsuit.
Yes. So fail to show empathy and your client will question your sincerity. Fail to deliver on competency and your client will question your expertise. Fail to provide transparency and your client will question your ethics. Fail to ensure dependability and your client will question your integrity. And then I'm going to close with this statement that was written by Gary Keller. When trust is lost, so is your reputation, ratings, and future repeat and referral business.
That makes my skin crawl, like the thought of that. I always try my very best, and as I'm sure everyone else does, and when a transaction doesn't go the way you hoped it would, really
Not a good feeling.
not a good feeling.
Okay, I appreciate you guys listening to me ramble on. I do, like I said, though, talking about like the functionary versus fiduciary aspect of it, and then also like how to deliver the core services, like you talked about, that stuff goes much, much more in depth with the value square class. So anyway, that's everything I got.
Awesome, thank you. That was awesome, thank you. I want to hear 2 ahas while Nicole's pulling this up really quick. Dos. That stands for 2 in Spanish. Aha
I
also
didn't
equals
understand,
aha in
sorry.
Spanish.
I don't know how to Spanish.
Jamie, I really like
With a question rather than just how many beds. Like, that's not something I really thought about too much, to put it in a different conversational way.
I love that. Yeah, love it. I had once, went to a thing that they said, instead of like talking through like, what kind of a house do you like, or what do you wanna look at? They're like, picture yourself like pulling up to your house every day. What does that look like? Walk me in the front door. How does that feel?
Well, you don't start with your beds and baths.
Right? You don't start with like, do you want a Rambler or whatever, right? Like, do you like Purple or do you not, right? Good one, loved it. Anyone else? One more. I know there was ahas because you guys were engaged. Don't be scared.
My aha is we really could come together and have a mastermind, and all of us have strengths in a lot of these different areas that are lacking in some. I think it'd be good if we shared with each other, so we all have a complete circle of this and what it's like for us.
Love it. Okay, awesome. Thanks again, Chris. We have one home solution. Get your phone.
Maybe they're eating on.
Oh, there we are. I was like,
Hi. I wanted to be fashionably late, if that's okay. And where is is it connected to something?
I think it's gonna probably, looks like it's a scroll.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's a big bummer, but that's okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Shelley with One Home Solution, as evidenced by that logo. If you guys don't mind, first, I'd kind of like to share just really quick. I was kind of peeking in on here on what you can do to show confidence, and just as a consumer, is it okay if I throw out there what? Because I'm not an agent. I've never been an agent. I've only purchased homes. So I know for me, what would build confidence is someone who comes in and has a very specific timeline of this is what happens at each step. Because my life is insane. I feel like I'm insane, losing my mind. It's so stressful. And if I can have someone who can very calmly and clearly say, here's how the process works. At this point of the process, something's gonna happen that's either gonna freak you out or the buyer out or whatever. It's not the end of the world, but something will happen. And that just makes me feel like, okay, I have somebody that I can trust who knows what they're doing, who is calm, even if you don't feel calm inside. So that's all I have to say on that one, if that helps any. It's just a person who's only bought and never sold. Well, I mean, you know what I mean. So anyway, One Home Solution, we are a single source home repair and maintenance company. I do want to point out right off the bat that we are not a home warranty. So this is something that's really different in the marketplace. We're the only company out there who does anything like this. And there are some gifts that aren't going to show up. I apologize. So when it comes to home maintenance and repairs, finding a reliable provider is not always easy. You can go to Facebook, you can go to Google, ask your friends and neighbors, but then you run into the issue of, are they going to answer when you call? And if you do get a hold of them and they schedule something, do they actually show up on time? Do they have this 4-hour window that's pretty loosey-goosey? Maybe they don't show up at all. You never know. So it can be frustrating. And just pretend that guy's moving and looking confused, because that's what's going on right there. So that's where One Home Solution started. We actually were in business in Park City for many, many years, only for Park City residents who had their vacation homes, or maybe they rented them out night to night, and they paid us thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a year to be that single source. And then our CEO a couple of years ago said, regular homeowners would probably benefit more from this than super rich people. So we make home maintenance easy and affordable. We are providing professionals who are dependable, and the reason they're dependable is that they're actually employed by One Home Solution. So this isn't like an Angie's List where you say, hey, I need XYZ done, and we go, great, and then we blast your name and your email and phone number out to a bunch of different subs. You're actually scheduling with us. And our employees are W-2, they have benefits, and they have certain expectations from us that they have to withhold. You know what I mean, uphold. We are app enabled and we are full service. So you think of changing a light bulb for somebody who has really high ceilings or mobility issues, to installing a flat screen TV, repairing drywall, any of those things. There's nothing that is too big or too small for us to take care of. One of the best parts is that because this is a members only service, our members only pay $70 an hour for the handyman services. So a lot of subcontractors think that 30 minutes is actually 1 hour, and that's what they charge you. We prorate. So if we're there for 30 minutes, we're only paying $35. We don't charge trip fees, mileage fees, anything like that. Now just pretend that you're seeing how easy it is for the app to be able to go in and schedule something. So I can just kind of walk you through it. You hit request appointment, you select a couple of different buttons of what exactly you want. Then you select your day and time, submit, and you're done. You're going to get an email confirmation for the day and time. Then our tech is going to actually send you a text and an email when they're about 30 minutes out to let you know that they're on their way. So it really is very, very easy to do. This is just some of the top requested items that we see. We also have seasonal services, recurring items like housekeeping. That's only $40 an hour, by the way.
The biggest benefit, other than the $70 per hour and the reliability, is the seasonal maintenance plan that our members receive. So I kind of look at this as wellness visits for your home. So you pay for your insurance company and they're like, hey, we're not gonna make you pay a copay on annual checkups, dental cleanings, et cetera, because it actually can help prevent those major things from happening health-wise. Well, it's the same thing here in that we provide 4 seasonal maintenance visits and there's no charge for these, no labor. We provide the materials. So we will come in and change out your HVAC filters, change out smoke detector batteries, refill the water softener, and then do all of these other items. And again, we're not charging for that. It's just one of the benefits of being a member with us. 5-star certified, which cracks me up that our marketing guy did that because it's not really a thing, but let's just pretend there was a certificate up there from like, I don't know, Bill Gates or something. So who could benefit from One Home Solution?
You're also endorsed by Anti-Slip, right? Not last one?
It's comparing us to
Oh.
Andes and Google.
I
But
thought they
no,
were
we're not,
endorsing you.
I don't think we are endorsed by them, so I don't want to say that. So retired people, single parents, young couples who just want to go have fun or maybe don't know what they should do. And then of course, you guys, of course, we want everybody to enjoy the benefits. What we've been finding is that agents love this as a closing gift. It helps those buyers remember them every time they get that seasonal maintenance or they get some handyman work for $70 an hour. So One Home Solution plans. These are our 2 that if you were to go to the website, this is what you would get because there's nobody talking to you to explain to you the benefits and all of that. And it's unlikely you'd probably use the actual services. The month-to-month plan of $49 is actually what I recommend for sellers because they can get all of the benefits of a membership at $49 a month and cancel anytime. So that means any of those little items that need to be fixed, painting, maybe you need some landscaping handled, or you want someone to come in and clean, like a major deep clean the first time and then come in and do a light cleaning while it's on the market. So that's what I recommend for sellers. Or they can do an annual plan, gift it to the buyer, or transfer it to their new address. If you want to refer clients, and I'm gonna kind of glaze over this because there's a better offering after, but if you just want to say, hey, go put my name in the referral box and you can get this for $400, woohoo, you're a hero because they save more money. And pretend that Skip is doing this. Because that's what he's supposed to be doing. Okay, so what I'm doing for real estate agents is if you want to gift it, if you want to buy it for yourself, however you want to do it. If you're going to do it today, which I recommend, use the code KWL250. And that I'm leaving some sheets here that show the code and it's good through 11:59 tonight. However, because I want you guys to gift it to people, I have created an email template. What you do is you send me the info that I need, and it's pretty easy to follow. Who's paying for it, your title, what's the customer's name, their address, closing date, etc. And you gift it to them for the $250 for that first year. We're going to send them this really nice email that says, hey, your agent Janet, or I don't know, I'm just making up a name, gifted you this, here's everything that comes with it, here's this great video, and then we're going to reach out and schedule their onboarding. The onboarding is us showing up, going through counting smoke detectors, figuring out which size of HVAC filters they have. Do they have a water softener? Do they have more than one HVAC system? And then that's when we'll send you an invoice prior to that visit, but that's how that works. Now we have everything in our system. And it makes it for a much more seamless transition if that person does need any help.
So then for that price, they would get their filters quarterly, or not quarterly, but seasonally, or?
Yeah, so quarterly, seasonally, however you want to call it, but it's every 3 months. And on the app, when you open it, it will show the particular season that we're doing. So for instance, when I open up my app, there's this really bright picture of tulips and stuff saying, hey, tap here, pick your day and time, and then we come out and take care of that for you. And it is all done through the app, which makes it really, really easy. And we can also, people can schedule estimates if they want to, have us come out, tell them, hey, it's probably gonna cost about X, Y, Z before you make that decision whether or not to move forward.
That's awesome. This would be a good addition of the, like, you know, the home warranty, but I know that my clients have bought a couple of homes where somebody replaced their furnace and they paid for this service plan through their furnace company. I feel like this is a cheaper option.
Well, it's not only cheaper.
You clean the gutters, that's cool.
Yeah. So we can come do anything, but again, kind of like that wellness plan. There are things that a home warranty company or even a builder warranty will deny because specific maintenance has not been completed. This helps prevent a lot of that, because now you have these service records of, hey, you know what, in the spring, we had the water heater was completely drained out to put that sediment build up.
So is there a charge also when they come out and refill your water softener?
No, that's part of those quarterly visits. It's only done once per quarter, but some people have ginormous softeners, but we do bring the salts.
All right, they're coming, make sure it's empty.
Exactly.
How about travel vicinity, like,
For right now, it is Ogden to Payson and then all of the Wasatch back. I am currently in discussions with the CEO to get North Ogden in there. Because there's a lot of stuff going on in North. I'm not sure why I'm laughing. There's a lot of stuff going on in North Ogden, so I would like to do business there.
Well, it's basically the same as Ogden.
It's
right?
10 miles. Just what I told the CEO. So he's analyzing it right now. I'm hoping to have good news on that. very soon.
the money there is there.
You are not, that's what I explained. I'm like, hey, housing, I tried to sound like super professional. I'm like, housing prices are still reasonable there. The median sales price is this. And so for affordability reasons, a lot of people are moving there. And I really tried to put forward a good case. So, any other questions on that? Okay, so I'm leaving some brochures. I will be following up. I'll send an email out probably to Nicole, okay, KWL 250. And I have some brochures, my cards are attached, and then I'll be here for a little bit to answer any questions. I appreciate your guys' time very much.
Let's go one.